3 spine-chilling security incidents, sinister secrets revealed in haunted private patrols. Lucy had always felt safe in Maplewood, the kind of suburban haven where the biggest concern was running out of milk before school lunches. But that comfortable facade shattered as the town succumbed to a wave of panic. Children spoke in hushed tones about broken glass littering the playground, and parents exchanged wary glances at the grocery store, all while the local news blared unsettling reports of vandalism and break-ins. "Can you believe it?" someone whispered, eyeing the empty corner lot as if it harbored a lurking danger. The story spread like wildfire, spurring frantic conversations. Where should you go after dark? What if someone's watching you? Then came the call Lucy never wanted to make. With her heart racing, she hired Guardian Patrol after reading their bold advertisements promising safety. At first, those bright patrol cars provided a false sense of security. She felt like she could breathe again. Yet, the comfort began to slip away slowly. She started receiving mysterious phone calls, silent, harrowing hang-ups that sent icy chills crawling down her spine. Who was watching? Her mind warped with paranoia as she cast furtive glances at shadowy figures flitting past her windows and at unfamiliar faces that darted down the street, whispers washing over her like thunder. Before long, the whispers turned to screams buried deep inside her mind. She found herself closing windows tightly, checking locks repeatedly, and jumping at every noise. Was there someone out there? The neighbors, once friendly, now eyed her like she was hiding the devil himself, their casual greetings morphing into suspicious glances. The tension thickened in the air, each passing day feeling heavier, oppressive. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Strange occurrences escalated. On a particularly bleak night, shadows flickered just outside her porch light, crawling along the edges of her yard as if beckoning her to follow. Lucy's breath hitched, terror pooling in her stomach. A sinister feeling gnawed at her as she moved, watching the darkness, trembling as her baby boy, Tyler, slept blissfully unaware. The horror deepened 2 nights later when she stumbled across an old newspaper clipping in the attic, a story of a girl named Annie who vanished decades ago. Her faded picture pulled at a string in Lucy's heart, striking an unsettling resemblance to Tyler. The walls closed in around her, the air thick with unanswered questions. Memories spun in her mind, whispers of the guardian ghost, spirits believed to protect the neighborhood but also haunt it. What if the patrol she trusted was hiding a past laced with darkness? Suddenly, she had to know. Her instincts demanded the truth. Steeling herself as the wind howled, she felt a tether anchoring her dread to reality. Every instinct screamed at her as she grasped her phone in the shadowy kitchen, dialing 911 in a tremor. A chill swept through her, and the screen illuminated with an unknown number. Her heart stopped. "Lucy, it's not safe for you and Tyler anymore," a voice rasped before the line went dead, leaving a suffocating quiet. As she glanced out at the dark, her eyes caught the silhouette of a figure, half hidden in the shadows beneath the guard patrol car parked across the street. Could it be? The real danger did not lurk at night, it was here, standing just outside her safe walls. Lucy's breath quickened, panic curling in her stomach, as dread deepened into a horrifying realization, the very presence she believed would protect her might lead her into darkness. The figure remained motionless, a dark silhouette against the dim glow of the patrol car's light. Lucy's mind raced, her heart pounding violently in her chest. Was it a trick of the light? Or had the very threat she hired to protect her become her worst nightmare? She inched closer to the window, drawn to the unknown. Anxiety twisted her stomach, overwhelming her thoughts as she tried to make sense of the terrifying sight. Then, it moved, with an unsettling grace, the figure stepped out of the shadows and into the light. Lucy's breath hitched in her throat as she recognized the familiar face. It was one of the guards from Guardian Patrol, but something was wrong. His eyes glistened with an eerie intensity, reflecting the light like a predator surveying its prey. What was he doing here at this hour? Instinctively, she glanced back towards Tyler, the innocent boy unaware of the creeping horror that threatened to breach the sanctity of their home. She couldn't let anything happen to him. Not now, not ever. The guard's lips curled into a smile, but it was twisted, more menacing than reassuring. Lucy pressed her back against the wall, her heart racing, edging closer to despair. She could feel the darkness closing in, each heartbeat reminding her of the secrets lurking just below the surface. Had she really invited danger in? Each passing second felt like an hour as she waited, suffocated by fear. The guard remained outside, occasionally glancing over his shoulder, scanning the neighborhood as if searching for something or someone. Questions burned in her mind. What was he waiting for? Did he know she was watching? She needed to act. With trembling hands, she pulled Tyler from his slumber, lifting him gently from his crib. The last thing Lucy wanted was for him to wake up scared, but she had to get out of the house. They could hide somewhere else, somewhere safer. But where would that be? She couldn't trust anyone anymore, least of all the very people who promised her safety. As she tiptoed down the hall, the house creaked ominously, amplifying her sense of dread. She made her way to the back door, hoping the shadows would mask her movements. The air was thick with a suffocating silence, broken only by the distant sound of the guard's footsteps now circling the perimeter of her yard. Just when she thought she might make it out undetected, the phone buzzed violently on the kitchen counter, shattering the ghostly stillness. With wide eyes, she glanced back at it. Another call, this time the caller ID read Guardian Patrol. The word Guardian felt tainted, twisted. Torn between fleeing and answering, Lucy felt trapped. What did they want? What did they know? Her skin prickled as she considered the ungodly possibility. Was this all part of a plan? A cruel game of cat and mouse where she and Tyler were merely pawns. The guard's form slipped into the peripheral of her vision, his unsettling gaze now directed at her door, the smile fraying into something darker. Adrenaline surged through her, and she knew she had to make a choice: hurry out the back, or answer the phone that might unearth more horrifying truths. As she clutched her child close, the decision loomed before her like the thick fog of night, oppressive and daunting. Would she choose flight, or face the darkness creeping in, ready to pluck away everything she held dear? Suddenly, the front door rattled violently, and with a sinister creak, it began to open. What waited on the other side could only be imagined. The door creaked wider, its hinges whispering a chilling welcome into the night. Lucy's heart raced, the sound echoing ominously in her ears. The guard was closer now, a shadow twisting itself into her home. What did he want? Panic gripped her throat as she shuffled backward, clutching Tyler tightly. She could feel his small body against her chest, warm and innocent, blissfully unaware of the horror unfurling around them. Lucy? The guard's voice sliced through the cool night air, smooth but edged with an unsettling quality. You shouldn't be afraid. I'm just here to keep you safe. Safe? The very idea twisted in her gut. His eyes flickered with something darker, something predatory. Why are you here? Lucy swallowed hard, trying to keep her voice steady. Where's the rest of your team? A chill ran down her spine as the guard stepped fully into the hall, allowing the light to illuminate his features. The smile still lingered, but now it looked less friendly, more threatening. They had other assignments. I'm more than enough. I know everything about you, Lucy. Her blood turned to ice. He knew too much. The hair on the back of her neck prickled. In that moment, the house felt less like a sanctuary and more like a cage, tightening around her, suffocating. I need you to understand something, he continued, his low voice drenching the air with dread. Being safe isn't about comfort. It's about control. I'm here to ensure you learn that. With no time to think, Lucy's instincts kicked in. She burst out the back door, legs pumping, the night air sharp against her skin. The shadows swallowed her whole as she dashed into the dark yard, her heart crashing against her ribs. Lucy! Come back! The guard's voice was a snarl slipping out into the stillness, followed by the telltale sound of footsteps pounding behind her. She didn't dare look back. All that mattered was moving forward, away from him, away from the nightmare unfolding. Her feet stumbled across the wet grass, the droplets soaking through her socks. She could feel gravity pulling her down, urging her to stop and give in to the fear clawing at her mind. But she wouldn't let it win. She couldn't. As she reached the fence, Lucy's thoughts raced. Where could she go? The neighbors? But what if he followed? If she brought him there, Tyler would be in even greater danger. Suddenly, the dawn of a plan flickered. A small park just beyond the streetlights. There would be people, a chance to blend in, to hide. Taking a deep breath, Lucy turned toward the opening at the end of her yard and sprinted towards it. Get away from my home! She screamed into the night as she leaped over the fence, desperation fueling her strength. She hit the ground hard, pain jolting through her ankle, but she couldn't stop. With every step, the heavy weight of fear chased her, closing in like a vice. The park was sparsely lit, but hope flickered as she spotted a glimpse of people gathered near a bench. Voices. Laughter. They would see her. She could blend in, find safety, but just as she approached, everything went silent. Laughter faded into an uneasy murmur. A chill gripped the air, and Lucy felt the hair on her arms stand on end. What's wrong? A woman whispered to her partner, eyes darting toward Lucy. Do you see that? Lucy's heart dropped. It was as if every soul turned toward her, their faces painted with fear and confusion. Help! Please! She gasped, stumbling to them, but just a moment later, the dramatic boom of footsteps shattered their calm, and suddenly, the darkness grinned. The guard materialized at the edge of the park, his malevolent grin illuminating the very chaos Lucy had sought to escape. The masked rhythm of danger echoed around her, and in the pre-dawn silence, a horrific realization settled in. She was not safe. The walls were closing in, and sacrifice was imminent. What would they do when they saw him? Would they help her or would they stand frozen in the face of evil? Get away from her! She heard a voice yell, but she couldn't tell if it was help or judgment. All that thundered in her mind was one frantic thought: in a world where safety has a cost, who would gamble with their lives? And just when she thought she might find solace, the first scream pierced the air. The scream fractured the stillness, echoing through the park like a thunderclap of reality crashing down. People turned, faces twisted in shock. Fear morphed into chaos as they surged in different directions, instinct drowning out reason. Lucy! Tyler's small voice cut through her panic. She dragged him closer, clutching him like a lifeline. The guard emerged, a shadowy figure wading through the rising tide of panic with an unsettling calmness, his smile distorting into something grotesque. Why are you running? He called out, his voice smooth, almost mocking. I told you I was here to keep you safe. The crowd scattered, their feet pounding against the pavement like a frantic heartbeat, a desperate retreat from a predator. Every face she glimpsed bore signs of rising terror. Lucy felt the weight of their fear pressing in, an invisible force suffocating her. Run! She screamed at the strangers. Get out of here! But her voice was drowned out by the chaos, voices rising in pitch, every shout fueling her sense of dread. Tyler clung tighter to her, sensing the thickness in the air, his wide eyes searching hers for reassurance. Mommy? He squeaked, trembling. Lucy didn't have the luxury of answering him. Infuriated by the terror he created, the guard stepped closer, malice draping over him like a cloak. You can't hide from me, Lucy. I always find my way. Glimpses of their life together flashed through her mind: Tyler's laughter, bedtime stories, the simple warmth of home. And now, that home had become a battlefield, her son caught in the line of fire. "Stop!" cried someone from the crowd, an older man pointing shakily at the guard. "Call the police." But the guard chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down Lucy's spine. "They can't help you. No one can. I am the law here." Lucy turned to the other people, desperation clawing at her throat. "Someone. Please. We need help." Time warped as she realized the crowd wasn't trying to help, they were paralyzed, torn between wanting to flee and the innate urge to assist. But who would put themselves at risk to face this monster? The guard took another step forward, never breaking his gaze. "You're not just going to run away like that, Lucy. Not after all the trouble you've caused me." Fury overwhelmed her fear. "I didn't do anything. You're the one terrorizing us. Get away." The words were sharp, but they shattered on the guard's unyielding resolve. He laughed softly, almost enjoying her futile rebellion. A few individuals tried to slip away, but he pressed on, narrowing the circle around them. "Why do you want to take him away?" she demanded, her voice breaking. "What do you want from us?" "You'll see soon enough," he said, glancing at those still standing. "The question is, who will survive this night?" Suddenly, the crowd gasped, eyes widening as the guard reached into his pocket and pulled out a gleaming knife, its blade catching the sparse light. "You've made a choice. And now, you'll learn what it truly means to be safe." Lucy felt the world around her tilt, the urgency exploding as everyone shrieked. The steel glinted like a beacon of danger, her breath quickened, and she knew she had to protect Tyler at all costs. Desperation turned into instinct. She yanked him into a sprint, weaving through the crowd, desperate to reach the edge of the park, to find safety in the chaos. But the guard was relentless. "You can't escape me, Lucy," he shouted, his voice growing louder, layer upon layer of madness building. They barreled through the scattered throngs, the terror surging around them. The guard's presence was like a dark cloud looming, a predator stalking its prey. And just when they thought they might reach the perimeter, something cold and hard crashed into her back. Lucy stumbled forward, Tyler's small body slipping from her grasp, wide eyes reflecting pure horror. "Tyler!" As she scrambled to find him, the darkness closed around her, suffocating, and the night laughed wickedly. What would happen when the guard finally caught up? Would she ever see her son again? The shadows loomed larger, as the laughter of the night echoed, leaving a haunting question lingering in the air. Would Lucy pay the ultimate price to save her child, or would darkness claim them both? Lucy's heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a frantic drum. Frantic breaths escaped her lips as she twisted and turned among the chaos. The park around her transformed, a once familiar haven now warped into an arena of unspeakable horror. She searched desperately among the bodies, their faces blurring into one continuous wave of fear. "Tyler!" she screamed, her voice raw and jagged. Panic clawed at her throat like the relentless guard behind her. "Mommy!" His voice came from somewhere ahead, where shadows melded with fading twilight. Lucy pushed forward, fear mingling with determination. The guard's mocking laughter echoed behind her, chilling her to the bone. "Run, little boy!" he taunted. "Mommy can't save you now." She rushed, each step heavy, the ground beneath her threatening to swallow her whole. The air thickened, a dark cloud of dread settling heavily in her chest. Lucy's mind screamed at her to turn, to face the figure closing in behind them, but the thought of leaving Tyler made her gut twist. "Mommy!" Tyler's cry pierced through the confusion. "I'm coming. Just hold on." She barreled forward, her eyes darting, desperate for any sign of him. The world around her faded, the chaotic crowd dimming like an old film reel damaged by time. Voices turned into a distorted hum, incomprehensible and distant. All she could focus on was Tyler's voice, a beacon of hope in a swirling sea of despair. Then, ahead, a flash of motion. A figure slipped through the crowd, small, familiar, crying. Tyler. Lucy lunged forward, the ground slipping beneath her feet as she raced toward him. They locked eyes. Mommy. Tyler's face was streaked with tears, and in that moment, the world narrowed down to just the two of them. But the guard was near, his breath hung heavily in the air, thick and suffocating, and then it happened. The knife glimmered wickedly as it sliced the tension. The guard emerged from the shadows, eyes glinting with malevolent joy. Lucy could see him clear now, his smile wide, almost delighted, as if he were a spectator at a show, waiting for the climax. "Did you really think you could escape?" he jeered, drawing closer, the blade catching flickers of light in a trippy dance. Lucy's instincts screamed through her veins like wildfire. "Get behind me!" she shouted to Tyler. The boy scrambled, but a surge of power seemed to emanate from the guard. He took a step forward, and suddenly, the crowd opened up, revealing a path where there had been none. It was as if the park itself conspired to let him through, a malevolent force favoring the predator. "Smart kid, but it won't help," the guard crooned, eyes narrowing like a hawk ready to dive. Panic set in. Lucy grabbed Tyler's wrist, ready to flee again, but another figure surged through the crowd. A young woman, courage glinting in her eyes, surged toward them. "I want to let him take you." She blocked the guard, arms stretched wide like a shield. "Stay away from them." The woman's voice rang loud, defiant. But the guard only chuckled, amusement dancing in his features. "You think you can stop me?" He flicked his knife dangerously, sparks flying. Lucy's heart raced. This was their chance. In one fluid motion, she pulled Tyler close and darted toward the edge of the scattering throng. The silhouette of the woman remained, standing her ground against overwhelming darkness. "Go!" Her shout was swallowed by fear as Lucy's feet propelled her forward, Tyler still in tow. The path opened up, she could see a glimmer of streetlights beyond the chaos. Freedom was within reach, but that nightmare of a man lingered in the shadows, forever connected to them by the chains of terror. "Mommy, I'm scared." Tyler whimpered, his small frame shaking against her side. I know," Lucy panted, fighting back tears. But deep down, fear clawed at her thoughts. What if they didn't make it? Suddenly, a heavy weight slammed into her shoulder, sending Lucy sprawling. The pavement kissed her hard, and her vision blurred. She lifted her head just in time to see the guard's figure towering over them, the knife raised high, and a sickening smile plastered on his face. "Now, let us see who gets to go free." Her breath hitched, a primal scream clawing its way up, but all that escaped was a rasping whisper. The world grew darker as she fell, and an eerie calmness surrounded the chaos. Would the light ever find them again, or would the guard claim them both into the night forever? Lucy's mind spiraled as darkness swallowed her whole. It felt like sinking into a void with no sound, no light. Was this the end? Panic surged, but then a whisper broke through the quiet. "Mommy?" Tyler's sweet voice echoed softly, a desperate plea that pulled Lucy back to reality. With a jolt, she opened her eyes, disoriented. Pain shot through her shoulder like fire when she tried to move, but she couldn't focus on that. She strained to see Tyler, scanning the murky edges of her vision. Moments stretched into eternity. "Tyler!" she croaked, fear thickening her throat. The shadows shifted, and there he was, crouched behind a broken park bench, eyes wide and glistening. Relief flared within her for the briefest second. The guard loomed, silhouetted against the glowing streetlights like a nightmare made flesh. His knife glinted with a wicked promise, the blade thirsty for blood, hungry for chaos. "You think hiding will save him?" he mocked, voice smooth and taunting. "Children can only play so long before they get caught in the web." He took a slow step toward Tyler, who trembled, paralyzed by terror. Lucy struggled to her feet, adrenaline pumping despite the agony screaming from her shoulder. "Stay away from him!" she shouted, forcing her voice to be stronger than her fear. But she felt the weight of helplessness pull at her. With every step the guard took, fear swelled in her heart like a tidal wave. "What do you want?" Lucy spat, forcing herself to stand tall even as her legs shook. His grin widened, sharp enough to cut. "Just a little family reunion, you know, a moment to cherish." And then, without warning, he lunged at a wild instinct-fueled Lucy. She charged, a fierce, desperate roar escaping her lips. She slammed into him, their bodies colliding with a sickening thud. The force tipped them both sideways, and the knife went flying, clattering against the concrete. Tyler. She couldn't think of anything else. They tumbled, fighting for control. The guard twisted, wrapping an arm around Lucy's throat, his breath hot and rancid. Panic flared again like a match in the dark, igniting her will to survive. She clawed at him, nails digging into flesh, searching for a way out of his grip. "Tyler!" she gasped, voice cracking. "Mommy!" The wail came from the shadows, each word laced with desperation that fueled her fight. There was no way she would lose him. Not now. Not ever. With a burst of strength, Lucy kneed him hard. The guard grunted angrily, loosening his grip just enough for her to slip free. She pushed him away and turned, scanning the area for Tyler. "Come to me. Now." But her heart dropped as she realized he was gone. The shadows had swallowed him once again. Frantic steps carried her through the chaos, searching, calling his name. "Tyler." Hope slipped away as panic set in deeper. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the grime of the park, blurring her vision. Then, amid the chaos, she spotted movement, a small figure scampering toward the hedge maze that bordered the park. Tyler. Dread washed over her as she chased after him, her heart thunderous in her chest. "Tyler, stop." But he vanished into the dark maze, shadows swallowing him whole. The moment felt horrific, knowing he barely made it a few paces ahead. The guard appeared behind her, laughter spilling from his lips. "Let the game begin, Lucy." Fear sliced through her gut as she realized she was trapped in a hunt with a monster. The guard's voice dripped with malice. "What will you choose, Mommy? Save him or escape?" The maze loomed like a mouth ready to devour, and desperation clawed at her throat. Time was running thin. She had to make a choice fast. "Stay back!" Lucy shouted, fighting the urge to turn and flee. Did she have it in her to face the darkness? The guard's eyes glinted as he stepped back, letting the tension swell. "Make your choice," his words echoed ominously as she stood at the threshold of the maze, caught between the threat of that twisted man and the darkness that held Tyler captive. Would she find her way to him before it was too late? Or was she walking right into another trap? The shadows beckoned, and with a deep breath, Lucy made her way into the unknown. The maze twisted like a serpentine nightmare, an ominous labyrinth that pulled Lucy deeper into its grasp. Every breath felt heavy, suffocating the flicker of hope inside her. "Tyler, I'm coming!" she yelled, her voice cracking from the dark. The narrow paths loomed on either side, shadows whispering secrets, mocking her desperation. Bushes lashed out with thorny fingers, threatening to snag her. Lucy pressed forward, heart battering against her ribcage. The cold air wrapped around her like a shroud, sending shivers racing down her spine. "Mommy!" His voice was faint, a fragile thread stretching towards her through the gloom. It was just enough to guide her. She stumbled, her legs betraying her, but she pushed through the seizing pain. The echoes twisted in her ears, taunting her with every step. The laughter of the guard lingered behind her, a cruel reminder that he delighted in the hunt. "Don't let him catch you, Lucy," she whispered to herself as if it would remind her to stay sharp, stay alive. The path forked ahead. Left or right? Panic clawed at her thoughts, demanding a decision. To the left, the sound of rustling leaves, to the right, silence. But silence was only a veil thinly covering lurking danger. She took a sharp breath and went right, driven by instinct. Tyler. A shiver rippled through the air, cutting her voice short. Fear sank its teeth deeper into her gut. The maze seemed to shift, closing in around her. The overwhelming sensation of being watched prickled the hair on the back of her neck. She spun, half expecting to see the guard's contorted grin looming over her, a nothing. Only darkness. Then, she heard it again, his voice. "Mommy." It was more frantic this time, desperate, and it echoed from somewhere deeper within the maze, pulling at her heart like a living thing. Lucy bolted forward, driven by that sound, taking turns haphazardly. Each corner seemed a gamble, each step a potential mistake as the hedge walls closed tighter. "Keep calling, Tyler," she shouted, willing her son to know she was close, that she would find him. The branches thrashed, their whispers now frantic, warning her. And then, out of nowhere, she heard a laugh mockingly sweet, like a twisted lullaby. The guard's voice drifted through the air, dripping with malice. "Why so frantic, Lucy? Does fear make you run faster?" The sound sent a surge of dread coursing through her veins, enough to drive her forward faster. She battled against the urge to cry, the tears clawing insistently at her eyes as she pressed deeper into the maze. But then she halted there. A slight figure, just visible through a gap in the hedges. "Tyler!" She screamed, hope igniting just as the revelation struck her. No, it wasn't Tyler. It was a decoy, a shadowy silhouette of what she longed for. "No!" She breathed, horror crashing through her. Suddenly, the laughter returned, much closer now, and Lucy's heart sank as she turned to escape, but it was too late. The guard stood there, his presence engulfing the path ahead. "You're making this too easy," he sneered, stepping forward. She could feel the walls closing in. Fight or flight? Choices boiled in her mind. She couldn't let him take Tyler. With adrenaline surging, she pivoted and charged back into the maze, heart racing. "Tyler!" But as the maze twisted around her, the grinning shadow followed, whispers merging with her thoughts. Time slipped away. Each scream echoed back, distorted, a reminder that the darkness thrived on fear. "Mommy!" And then silence. Lucy froze. No more cries. What had happened? Had he gone silent? A cold dread seeped into her bones. Interesting turn of events, huh? The guard's voice slithered in, darkened eyes glinting like knives. Now it truly begins. The darkness that had been her ally now felt like molten chains, holding her, and snaring her. In that moment, she realized the maze was alive. It fed on her fear, breathing in the shadows. As she stumbled deeper, racing against a clock she didn't know she could hear, the guard's voice trailed off with a sinister promise. "Let us see how far you're willing to go." She had to find him before the maze swallowed them both whole. But could she even trust her own instincts anymore? The silence hung heavy, a prelude to the horror that awaited her, tightening like a noose. Would the next turn be their salvation or doom? What awaited her in the heart of the maze? Lucy pressed forward, pushing her legs against the encroaching terror. Adrenaline surged, but dread gnawed at her thoughts. Had the guard taken Tyler? Whispers fluttered around her, sinister echoes of her worst fears. "Mommy!" The voice was distant now, a soft taunt carried away by the cruel wind that whipped through the maze. The cold seeped into her bones, a frigid reminder of her isolation. She stopped, straining to hear through the oppressive silence. "Tyler!" She called again, panic knotting in her chest. Each second felt like an eternity, stretched thin in the dark. Suddenly, movement caught her eye. A flicker of motion, quick and shadowy, darting between the hedges. Lucy's breath quickened. Could it be him? She turned, heart racing, and stumbled towards the flicker, clawing through the rough branches. "Tyler! Is that you?" she cried, hope igniting anew. But as she approached, it disappeared. Gone. She let out a sob, frustration and fear overwhelming her senses. The laughter came again, a derisive cackle echoing through the maze. You can't have him, Lucy. Not yet. Shut up. She screamed, rage boiling over her despair. I will get him back. The guard's laughter echoed, reverberating off the walls like a spell casting darkness deeper than before. She felt the hedges thrumming with a sinister energy, eager to crush her spirit. The ground shifted beneath her feet as she took a step back, confused. This maze wasn't just a physical barrier, it was alive, a beast hungry for her fear. Desperation clawed at her throat. What if she never found Tyler? Mommy! The cry pierced through the many threads of shadows, a beacon in her dismal surroundings. With renewed determination, Lucy clenched her fists and charged toward the sound. Each step was heavy, weighed down by the dread that twisted with every frantic heartbeat. But as she turned into another narrow path, she froze. Before her stood a wall of thorns, gnarled and twisted in a way that seemed unnatural. Her breath caught. This was a new barrier, one that hadn't been there moments before. Can you feel it? The maze is watching you, the guard taunted, stepping from the shadows as if he'd been waiting for this moment. What did you do? Let him go. Lucy demanded. She felt exposed now, pinned between the guard and the thorny wall, a cruel trap that seemed designed just for her. Why would I do that? He stepped closer, the cruel brightness of his eyes cutting through the dark. Fear is what makes this game so much fun. You give me more, and I may just consider it. Swallowing hard, she glared at him, refusing to show weakness. I will not let you win. Brave words, but let us see how brave you are when faced with the choice. He raised a hand, and the branches rattled ominously, claw-like fingers drawing closer on either side. A path opened behind him, one that taunted with potential escape, yet was heavy with the uncertainty she had learned to dread. Tyler! She shouted, willing her son to hear her, to fight against whatever held him captive. But there was only silence, the suffocating kind that threatened to swallow her whole. Choose wisely, Lucy, the guard whispered, dark glee washing over his face. The next step could lead you to freedom or to your worst nightmare. The decision lay before her, heavy like a stone. Could she trust the maze? Could she trust him? As the walls seemed to ripple with anticipation, Lucy felt the cold breeze brush against her cheek, carrying whispers that urged her to flee. But she couldn't run away without knowing. Which way? She murmured, fear coiling tight around her gut, binding her to the spot. And just then, the unearthly silence thickened. She realized, this wasn't just a game. Something far worse lurked, just beyond her grasp. Mommy, the voice echoed again, loading with dread. It ricocheted through the air, urging her forward, but every choice she made clawed at her insides. If she moved now, would it be toward her son or into a trap? What if she ended up facing something far more sinister lurking in the shadows? The path loomed ahead, beckoning her, and the chilling uncertainty of her next move weighed heavy, like a countdown to the unknown. Would she step into the light, or descend deeper into darkness? Time was running out, and in the distance, Tyler's voice faded once more. The laughter faded into the distance, replaced by the low rustling in the hedges. Lucy's heart raced as she weighed her options. The path behind the guard seemed to shimmer with promise, while the thorny wall loomed as a reminder of her precarious situation. Choose wisely, the guard's taunt hung in the air, a cruel echo that lingered like stale perfume. She clenched her fists tighter, the cold pricking at her skin. She feared the maze, the whispers, and the darkness that draped over her like a suffocating blanket. Behind her, the laughter resumed, echoing in the maze's foul corners. A shriek of desperation fought to bubble up as she glanced back toward the path. If she chose wrong, could it cost her everything? Mommy! Tyler's voice rang out again, piercing through the cold mist that enveloped her. It twisted sharply with her heartbeat, drawing painful emotions to the surface, the insatiable need to protect him and the gut-wrenching fear of failure. Mustering courage, she took a step forward. The thorns on each side quivered as if sensing her resolve. She yelled again, "Tyler!" Her voice was raw, yet it filled her with an odd sense of strength. With every footfall, the curse of uncertainty made the ground feel unsteady beneath her. Shadows danced on the periphery. Each twist and turn of the maze conspired against her, mocking her with shrill jests that melded seamlessly with the wind. The guard's eyes glinted, alarmingly cheerful. "You can't turn back now. There's no escape unless you're willing to face your demons." He pointed down the path, an invitation laced with venom. "Tyler!" She shouted again, but there was no answer. The silence felt suffocating, heavy with terror. She remembered what he looked like, the way his eyes sparkled, even in the darkest moments. But this darkness was different. It seemed to pulse, eager to swallow her whole. With dread thickening in her throat, she sprinted down the offered path, every breath filled with trepidation. Thorny branches whipped against her skin, leaving stinging trails as she pressed on. "I'm coming, Tyler." But as she ran, the maze twisted once more. The walls began to close in, squeezing her to the brink of panic. She felt the air growing colder, her breath crystallizing in the night. "Mommy!" the voice echoed again, but it was different this time. It trembled, an undercurrent of fear slipping through the edges. She needed to reach him. The ache in her chest urged her on, and she pushed through the pain, desperately fighting to maintain her focus. Then she stumbled into a clearing, a strange open space amidst the maze's chaotic embrace. The air hung thick with an electric heaviness, the kind that electrifies the skin just before something dreadful happens. Gnarled trees surrounded the clearing, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. At the center, a flicker of light danced, pulsing, shimmering. It pulled her closer, a beacon in the oppressive gloom. Closer still, she recognized the form, a small silhouette, unmistakably Tyler, standing beneath the bright light. "Mommy, help me!" His voice trembled on the edge of panic, a child lost in a waking nightmare. A cry escaped her lips, sharp and filled with anguish. "Tyler! I'm right here." But as she reached out, the light flickered, and he began to fade. "No!" She screamed, lunging forward, but the shadows enveloped him, dragging him back into the dark. Suddenly, the guard appeared again. "Not just yet, Lucy. The maze has other plans. The question now is, are you willing to lose yourself to save him?" Panic surged through her. The maze pulsed, walls shifting as if alive, the air thick with dread. In that moment, she had a chilling realization: this was just the beginning. Would she descend deeper into the maze's heart, or could the light shine through the darkness? As the guard's laughter echoed louder, Lucy stood at the precipice of despair, knowing that every choice could lead her closer to reality or drag her farther into nightmare. What awaited her in the depths of the maze? Would she find Tyler, or would she lose herself entirely in the labyrinth that hungered for her fear? The maze twisted around Lucy like a serpent, coiling tighter as the darkness weighed down on her. Her heart raced, thrumming loudly in her ears as she stood at the edge of despair, the guard's voice slicing through the heavy silence. "You're almost there, Lucy. But what are the lengths you're willing to go to save your child? Are you ready to confront your worst fears and embrace the darkness?" "Shut up!" she shouted, drawing strength from her desperation. "I will get my son back." But the guard only smiled, that predatory grin slicing deeper into her resolve. He remained an ominous shadow, lurking just out of reach as she sprinted into the pulsating light, leaving behind those twisted thorns that threatened to snare her. The clearing shrank behind her, and Lucy powered forward into the radiance, each step a defiance against the chaos that threatened to swallow her. "Tyler!" she called again, pushing her voice to spear through the murk around her. "Mommy!" His cry echoed back, each word a soft plea tugging at the fibers of her heart. She surged toward where she last saw him, praying she wouldn't lose him to the shadows again, but before she could reach the light, the guard stepped into her path, thin and confident, like a wolf circling its prey. "This is where the game changes," he rasped, eyes glimmering with malice. "Stay away from him." Lucy's voice dripped with raw resolve. She pressed forward, determined to bulldoze past him, to step into the light for Tyler's sake. "Do you really think you can defy me?" He laughed, a cruel sound that stung against her ears. The kind of laughter that can break spirits, that can extinguish hope. "You're only feeding the maze, Lucy. It thrives on your fear, your chaos." Suddenly, the ground below her trembled, and vines lashed out from the shadows, snaking around her legs, threatening to drag her down once more. Panic surged through her, but grief and fury interjected, igniting a spark of defiance within her. "Tyler!" she screamed, her voice bursting forth with the primal strength of a mother's love. "I'm coming." With every ounce of her energy, she ripped free from the grasping vines, her feet slamming against the ground as she dashed past the guard, heart pounding like a drum of war. The golden light flickered and pulsed ahead, promising safety, salvation. As she drew closer, the shadows shifted, revealing Tyler, still clutching his knees, wide-eyed and trembling with fear. The instant their gazes locked, Lucy felt the world steady, a warm sense of purpose flooding through her. "Mommy!" Tyler sobbed, arms reaching out in anguished need. "Hold on. I'm almost there." Lucy surged forward, feeling the warmth of the light embrace her as she dove to scoop him up. But before she could reach him, the guard roared in frustration, stepping forward with an intent that sent a chill coursing through her veins. "You think running will save you? This is just the beginning, Lucy." The air crackled, a dreadful aura enveloping them, making Lucy's skin crawl. She could sense that the guard was ready to unleash a world of horrors, a relentless pursuit focused on breaking her will. Hate and fear swirled in the air, clashing against the bond of love that kept her anchored. "Mommy," Tyler whispered, trembling. The innocence in his voice thrashed against the darkness around them. Lucy scooped him close, heart racing as she glanced up, feeling the weight of the guard's menacing presence looming. "I'll always protect you." As the guard lunged, knife drawn, Lucy summoned every fiber of her being, her fear flipping into resolute fire. She tightened her grip on Tyler and turned her back to the guard, racing toward the light. It pulsed stronger now, illuminating their path with an intensity that swallowed the shadows whole. "Let us go," she cried, dodging the guard's grasp as they burst into the light radiance. For a moment, she felt the surge of warmth wrap around them, a comforting embrace echoing against the chill of terror. The ground beneath her feet felt solid, the light a beacon that shielded them, but the guard's fury rang through her. "You think you can escape? You'll never be free from me." But Lucy's heart beat for Tyler, the clarity of their love forged a shield around them, a timeless promise that drove her forward. "Remember, they can only take what you let them," she whispered to him. Together, they pushed past the fear, breaking through to a new world where love extinguished darkness, the air humming with radiant energy. As the shadows closed in behind them, they stepped free into the dawn, the sun rising in shades of gold and crimson. The warmth bathed their skin, flooding their souls with relief. They stumbled into the open, where neighbors and bystanders stood like sentinels, witnessing their flight to safety. "Lucy! Tyler!" Concerned voices rushed toward them, arms waiting to embrace and protect. As Lucy turned to face the darkness, the guard fell silent, his menace diminished among the light. She knew they had not defeated him completely, not yet, but they had found each other again. Their bond had triumphed over that which sought to tear them apart. Today marked a new beginning. They would not let fear dictate their lives. As they stood together, watched by those they loved, the shadows retreated. The nightmares would fade, and the laughter of a mother and son would fill their home again. "Can we go home now?" Tyler asked, his small voice breaking the silence, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Lucy smiled through tears. "Yes, sweetheart. We're going home," she whispered, gripping him tighter, knowing that together, they could face whatever lay ahead. As they walked away from the shadows, hand in hand, every wound felt like a badge of survival. Outside of the grip of fear, they could finally breathe again, and as the afternoon sun broke through the horizon, Lucy made a silent vow: they would never find themselves trapped in the darkness again. Now, as you've reached the end of this heart-stopping journey, I need you to take immediate action. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. We count on your support, and don't you dare wait. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this intense ending. Let us get the conversation rolling. Finally, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. They won't want to miss out. Together, let us keep the thrill alive.